सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ
Dharma would be lost without dharmi. Who would be left to protect all the dharma that was handed over from one generation to the next? Dharma was not a system with built in lateral controls, it was a tradition. There was no central organization from which everything flowed down, such as exists in the form of a papacy, diocese, and parish. Here, the form was purely a structure handed over by the family. The parents passed it along to their children. The dharma, being an individual pursuit, be destroyed. What will happen then? Arjuna asked. A society is strong only when its women are strong. When the women themselves are given to certain weaknesses, ways that are not becoming, then you will find confusion. If the family is destroyed, one's parentage becomes a problem and an enormous confusion is thereby created. Arjuna argued from the standpoint of his society's social structure. He was convinced that the confusion would not only be within the varnas, but also in the ashramas, once the women could no longer maintain the dharma. One may then ask, so what if the varnas are destroyed? This question, so what, can always be asked at any stage. So you will die? So what? You won't be? You won't be here? So what? Your family will miss you? So what? Therefore, let there be confusion. One may say, in anticipation of such a response, Arjuna continued.
so just yeah, to contextualize, right?
Shall I read the sloka?
Yeah, I'm just contextualizing what we covered. So yeah, I think Sugandha ji, namaste. Glad to have you here.
Hi, Shweta introduced me to this Google link. So thanks to her, I'm here today.
Yeah, no, happy to have you here. And so we are somewhere in the middle of the Gita, not
Yeah,
middle of the first chapter of the Gita.
that's
So
what you
the
mentioned.
entire teaching is still underway. There's still a lot left. I don't know how much context here we can catch up later, but yeah, the in the last shloka we talked about Arjuna's dilemma. In fact, this dilemma has been ongoing for several shlokas, and it's just a continuation of that. So yeah, Parnaji, if you'd want to read the next shloka and the commentary, if
Yeah.
you'd like as well.
Yes. सङ्करो नरकायैव कुलज्ञानां कुलस्य च पतन्ति पितरो ह्येषां लुप्तपिण्डोदकक्रियाः.
Would you like to read?
Confusion indeed leads the family and the destroyers of the family to hell. Their ancestors, denied of their post death rituals, indeed fall. Here, Arjuna included the very family itself because after the heads of these families die, the others would not follow Dharma. For both the destroyers of the families, then as well as those who survived the destruction of their families, there would be Naraka. Naraka is the Vedic equivalent to hell, with the difference that Naraka is a place you go to and come back, unlike the concept of hell in Christianity. This is because there is no concept of eternal damnation here, because these people would incur papa and after death they would go to Naraka, a place of pain for a period of time. Therefore, Shankara confusion can only lead to Naraka. Thus, for those who destroy the family and for the survivors of the family, the outcome is nothing but Naraka when there is Shankara. Many people would survive, but they would have no role models. Therefore, confusion would result. They would do things that are not to be done. Hence, there would be more papa accrued. People would be doing things that are not proper and would end up in Naraka. In Arjuna's mind, the situation was even more serious than that. His ancestors would also be affected. The wrongdoings of the ancestors of the three preceding generations were traditionally neutralized by prayers performed month after month by the survivors in the next generations. Those for whose sake these oblations were made may have committed many papa karmas. Those karmas would be neutralized by the rituals performed by their children. This ritual performed for the sake of one's departed ancestors is called Pinta Udaka Kriya. In this ritual, water is religiously offered with chants along with a ball of cooked rice, Pinda. If the family were destroyed, no one would perform this ritual, and the ancestors would be deprived of having their wrongdoings neutralized by their children. Because of their children's prayers, they have all been protected somewhere. If, however, they were denied these rituals, they would fall from there. Who would perform these rituals if the people who were to do them were destroyed? Even those who destroyed the families would also be destroyed in the process and would not be able to do the rituals. Nor would those who were left protect the ancestors in their way because they would not have grown up respecting the need to perform these rituals. Instead, they would choose to depend their time in other kinds of activities. That means the rituals for the ancestors would be left undone. There would be no role models, no family, and no home either. Therefore, those who were left would not know who was who and what was what. Without roots, what self identity would they have? Without a self identity, they could not perform rituals. Arjuna's point was that they should not think that if they destroyed all these people and were destroyed in the process, their children would save them. They would not. They would all be rock stars, punk artists, and the like. What would they possibly do for their ancestors? Therefore, there will be no one to help. By saying what he did, Arjuna was citing the Dharma Shastra, but Krishna had an answer for it all. As we shall see in the next chapter, Arjuna continues in the same vein. Please, the sloka.
Just one thing before just wanted to say this one thing. Um, Sankaraha and Shankaraha, there is a difference. Uh, so just while pronouncing it, it is important to show that difference. Because
Sure,
especially
sure.
in Tamil only, this problem is very, very prominent. In Tamil, people say Sankaran as the name, where it is Sankaran means one who causes confusion, whereas Shankara means Shankaran means one who gives Mangalam. So it is
Yes.
totally opposite meaning. So this that comes. I thought I would mention that.
Sure, sure, sure. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much.
I'm Tamil too, so just
Any questions so far on what was covered? All good. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this really goes to the heart of understanding that when we talk about intergenerational karma and customs, rituals, whatever may be passed down the family, if the elders of the family are destroyed or if they lose their path or their purpose, it's impossible for the children to pick it up. And so, as a parent, also the best thing that you can do for a child is not to teach them, but to set an example for them. Because the teaching becomes spontaneous if we live the life that we want them to emulate. If uh, somebody very nicely said that you can't become strong by watching exercise videos. You have to go to the gym yourself, right? So today, you can't just tell somebody that okay, hey, do this, do your karmas, do your mantras and all. Because as parents, if we don't carry the load of our family customs and different traditions that have been so meticulously protected and passed down from our ancestors, we cannot expect our children to also adopt them. So that's something that Arjuna indirectly touches in this shloka as well. That if all of the jeshthas, all the elderly people in the family are engaged in war and they get destroyed on the battlefield, and then there's going to be all sorts of sankara, which is confusion. Society will not have any anchor to the past because the gap has been created. There's nobody to reach out to. The ancestors are gone, and our elders are also destroyed. So that's what's expressed here. Okay, so let's look at the next shloka.
I can't see it fully. Second, yes, no. Is the first line visible for you? For me, only second line I'm seeing. Oh, yes. Yeah, no. दोषैरेतैः कुलज्ञानां वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्माः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः.
Do you want to rotate reading order? Does
Yeah, please, Aparna ji can continue, please. If it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, I can read. Thank you. By these wrong actions of those who destroy the family, creating confusion in the society, the perennial dharmas pursued by the family and the community are destroyed. Here, Arjuna concluded that all the dharma perennially handed over by one generation to the next from time immemorial would be destroyed by the wrong actions, producing confusion with reference to Kula dharma, Varna dharma, Ashrama dharma, and so on. Therefore, to destroy all these people would be wrong because dharma would also be destroyed. Arjuna was trying to tell Krishna that the battle was not going to work. In addition, the entire society would be destroyed by these acts of destruction. Therefore, he was not going to fight. Dharma is to be seen here as threefold: Sadharana Dharma, Varnashrama Dharma, and Kula Dharma. Sadharana Dharma or Samanya Dharma is universal ethics applicable to all and sundry, whether the person is of this age or of any other age, from this country and culture or from any other country and culture. He or she has a code of Dharma in common. Universal values, universal law and order are part of the creation and are something that we all sense commonly. In other words, they are universal. Whether or not you are educated in this Dharma, you do know what is right and wrong. What you want and do not want others to do to you become right and wrong respectively. Being endowed with common sense, a human being is able to appreciate the right and wrong without any education whatsoever. I need not be taught that I should not be hurt and that I should not be robbed and so on. These values are commonly sensed by everyone and thus govern all human interactions. Although other non-universal values may override them. This is what causes people to compromise. Compromises, therefore, are not born out of total ignorance of universal values. Varnashrama dharma and Kula dharma together are called Vishesha dharma, which can be divided in many ways. Vishesha dharma means peculiar or particular dharma governing certain situations, whereas Samanya dharma applies to all human beings, whether a person is a student, a householder, or in any other stage of one's life. A particular dharma is one that is governed by the structure of the society. For instance, in the Vedic society, the society envisioned by the Vedas, there was a structure called Varna and another called Ashrama. This structure, consisting of the Varnas, made it possible to assign particular jobs to particular groups of people. A broad division was thereby created along with the concept of duty. Because I belong to this Varna, this is to be done by me. This is all an integral part of Karma Yoga, as we will see later. This structure of assigning specific duties to particular groups of people is called Varna Dharma. This is a Visesha Dharma. Then there is Ashrama Dharma, defining that which has to be done given one's stage in life. For example, a Brahmana as a student had to follow a certain order. When he or she is married, certain changes occurred and additional dharma was included. As a student, one was not supposed to pursue certain activities. You could follow politics, but you did not participate in politics. If you did, you ceased to be a student. You became a politician instead. Thus, there was a structure with reference to one's ashrama. Ashrama dharma, what was expected of you, depending on the stage of life you were in, is also Visesha dharma. Another example of Visesha Dharma was Stri Dharma or Purusha Dharma, based on whether a person was male or female. There was also Kula Dharma, Dharma applicable to a particular family or clan. The Kuru clan, for instance, had its own Dharma. Because it included all of these Visesha Dharmas, Kula Dharma was used in this verse to cover all of them. Arjuna argued that by destroying the Dharmi, Dhar- okay, dharmi, they would be destroying all these dharmas because an attribute cannot exist by itself without a locus, a substantive. In this expression, a white cow, for example, the substantive cow is qualified by the adjective white. If you destroy the cow, white also goes. Similarly, dharma being what it is must be lived by the dharmi, the person who is supposed to follow it. Here, all these people had come to fight against and kill each other. For the sake of what? You can't tell me. Arjuna said that it is for the sake of protecting Dharma. When the people who were supposed to follow Dharma were destroyed, how could Dharma be protected? With the Dharmi gone, Dharma would only be in the books. There would be no one for others to follow. This Dharma had always been handed over to the next generation, but after the war, the role models would be gone, creating a lot of confusion in the society. Let's stop here.
Any questions here? I know a lot of terminology has been covered as well. If there's anything alien, uh, we could discuss. So this part is also very important when it talks about the locus of dharma. So the dharmi is the substantive upon which dharma is resting. You can also relate this to Ishvara, that for the entire Jagat, the Trigunatmika Loka that we have, you require uh, a substantive upon which this entire Loka rests. So the world is nothing but qualities, as we have seen. It's all adjective. It plays in forms. The only given form is just the guna, but the gunaman is Ishvara. So that means the later is just a connection with that. You can continue to read.
Someone
Does
else
somebody
read?
want to take a turn?
I can read.
You can chant the shloka also, or does Aparnaji want to chant the shloka and Shwetaji can read?
Sure. Sure. I will chant the sloka. Just the one line before I read and chant the sloka. Arjuna argued that by going on with the war, he would be the cause of all this confusion and therefore he wanted no part of it. Further, he said, उत्सन्नकुलधर्माणां मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतं वासो भवतीत्यनुशुश्रुमा.
We have heard, O Janardana, that a life in hell is inevitable for those men who have destroyed the dharma of the family. Here, Arjuna reminded Krishna of what he had learned from the religious teachers, that those who destroy the Kula Dharma must necessarily go to Naraka, a place of pain after death. Therefore, he concluded, if the Pandavas were to destroy the family, they would gain nothing but papa and would have to live in Naraka, if only for a certain length of time. They had heard this from their elders who knew the Dharma Shastra. Believing this to be the case, Arjuna could see neither Drishtaphala nor Adrashtaphala as a result of this war. In his mind, there would be no immediate or future gain here or in the hereafter. This was the basis for Arjuna's argument. Duryodhana, on the other hand, was not concerned about Adrashtaphala at all. He cared only for Drashtaphala, immediate gain. He did not think that Papa and all that went with it. Had he done so, he would not have been an atat, atatai,
Atatai.
Atatatai, a wrongdoer. He had no respect for the Adrashtaphala, which meant that he was not a Astika. He was therefore a Nastika, a disbeliever. This word Adrashtaphala is known to us only through the scripture, the Shastra. Because Duryodhana had no faith in Punya and Papa, he was a disbeliever, interested only in what was available to him here in this world. He wanted to rule a kingdom. The power that went with the kingdom made him feel big. He had enjoyed absolute power without any contention for 13 years. As we know, the power has a knack of corrupting. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Duryodhana had been absolutely corrupted by power, and he did not care. He enjoyed absolute power and did not want to lose it. Although others thought of it as corruption, he did not. In fact, he thought those who thought this way were idiots and deserved only to live in the forest, nothing more. This was Duryodhana's thinking. Arjuna's thinking was in keeping with what he had learned about Drashtaphala and Adrashtaphala. He believed in Dharma and was very clear that the fight was between Dharma and Adharma. Arjuna knew this, but still he thought that by destroying his own people, there would be no happiness for him, either then or later. Therefore, he lamented.
Any questions on Dashtaphala, Adashtaphala? Everyone clear on that?
So, Drashtaphala is just the immediate gain, and the Adrashtaphala is like a long term gain.
Yeah, it's a delayed result.
Okay.
So it could also be pap karma, but in this context, it's spoken of as punya and pap karma both.
Okay.
Especially one where we cannot connect the cause and effect. That becomes Adrishtaphala. If,
That's a perfect.
what we do right now, we won't know the cause of it. Then it is the Adrishtaphala that we are enjoying right now.
Okay, so we'll read the next one. We can stop after the commentary on the next shloka if anybody else would like to read. And you can chant, Aparaj. You become a resident Gita shloka chanter.
Thank you. Before he lamented, Aho bata mahat apankartum sorry, I have to read the slokam now, right? Correct
Huh.
only, no?
Huh.
Yeah. अहो बत महत्पापं कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयम् अद्राज्यसुखलोभेन हन्तुं स्वजनमुद्यताः.
Anyone else wants to read?
I can
Yes.
continue. Okay, you can continue.
Okay.
Yeah, please, Shwetaji.
No, that's fine, Malviji. You can continue.
Spy upon us, ready to fight, we are determined to commit the great sin of destroying our own people due to greed for a kind and its pleasures. Up until this verse, Arjuna's lamentation focused on what he was about to do. Here, however, although the first arrow had yet to be shot, we see that Arjuna was bothered by all these people having come to fight. He asks himself, what were the what were we thinking of when we collected all these armies to declare war and to come to Kurukshetra? What happened to that thinking, that Viveka that I now have? Whereas, where was it? Because it was not there. We are here in the battlefield right now. Why didn't I figure this all out before? Spy upon us. What kind of papa caused us to decide to come here? Determined to commit this great universal sin, the destruction of dharma, running away with his own train of thought. Arjuna had now come to this conclusion. Lobha is a greed or longing. When we have a kingdom, Rajya, you have all the pleasures, Sukha, that go with it. The best music, dancers, poets who praise you daily, a lot of titles and salutations, all of which boost your ego. This is what is meant by a power trip. For a mortal, this power is very enticing. Is it not agreed for the kingdom and pleasures that has made us come with our stockpiles of weapons, prepared to fight and kill our own people? Arjuna mused, since they would be destroying their own people, Arjuna because became ill at the very thought that they could ever have considered doing such a thing. Therefore he said,
Do we do one more shloka?
We'll read.
Yeah, one more.
यदि मामप्रतीकारम् अशस्त्रं शस्त्रपाणयः धार्तराष्ट्रारणे हन्युः तन्मे क्षेमतरं भवेत्.
How many shlokas in the first chapter? I forget. It's like 46, 47 something. Let's finish
47.
the first chapter today.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, would you like to read?
it will be better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra with weapon in hand were to kill me, who was unarmed, and who does not retaliate. Krishna must have looked at Arjuna in wonderment. He had been going on, and now he was telling him that if they gave up the fight, they may all be killed. But he did not care. Arjuna was determined not to fight back. However, this kind of thinking was not shared by those in the other camp. It was only in Arjuna's mind. Therefore, if Arjuna was not going to fight, either he would have to run away from the battlefield or stand there unarmed and be killed. Arjuna would be unarmed but not disarmed. He would have voluntarily given up all his arms. Moreover, he thought that it was better if he were to be killed. Let it be for my good, he said. Myself not being killed but destroying all these people would definitely not be for my good. I am not going to win. I am going to suffer from the pains that I caused by destroying all these people. It will always haunt me, even if I am killed in the process. Alive, I am going to be haunted and dead. I will haunt this battlefield where my arrows destroyed my own people. This is even worse, said Arjuna. Shall I continue for the next verse also?
Yeah, yeah.
Having decided not to fight, Arjuna concluded that being killed would be better. What Arjuna then did was recounted to Dhritarashtra by Sanjaya in the last verse of this first chapter.
सञ्जय उवाच एवमुक्त्वार्जुनः सङ्ख्ये रथोपस्थ उपाविशत् विसृज्य सशरं चापं शोकसंविघ्नमानसः।
Sanjaya said, having spoken in this manner in the middle of the battlefield, putting aside his bow and arrows, his mind completely overcome by sorrow, Arjuna sat down on the seat of the chariot. Because Sanjaya was narrating the whole dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna to Dhritarashtra, the entire Gita is actually in the form of a narration by Sanjaya, although it was really Vyasa who was speaking. There is a particular style involved here, which we need to be aware of. Quotations are quotations within quotations. Throughout the Gita, we have to remember that Sanjaya was describing what happened on the battlefield to Dhritarashtra. Here, Sanjaya first quoted Arjuna, and then in this verse, Vyasa reminds his reader that Sanjaya was talking to Dhritarashtra. Arjuna had been standing in his chariot in order to see all the people with whom he was to fight. Finding his own people on all sides, he concluded that it would be better for him to be killed. Having thus spoken to Krishna, Arjuna sat down on the chariot, which was in the middle of the battlefield, right between the two armies. This verse also provides a few more details concerning Arjuna's condition. Putting his bow and arrows aside, Arjuna sat back, his mind completely overwhelmed by sorrow. He felt sadness because the situation was so sad. That he had come to fight with his own people was not a happy thought. Although he was sad, Arjuna did not run away from the battlefield because something inside him told him that perhaps there was some defect, some fallacy in his thinking. He was a man of dharma. He had been well brought up, and his present thoughts were all colored by his vision. There was some truth in his argument, but at the same time, dharma was involved. Hence, it was not easy to resolve the issues involved. Arjuna was not a person who was supposed to take care of law and order. He had a job to do, one that was mandated by the Shastra, by the society, by the crown, and for that reason, he did not run away from the battlefield. He could have set out for the Himalayas, the distance from Kurukshetra not being. It would therefore have been very easy for him to go. However, he did not run away because he knew that there was some problem with his thinking. Instead, he sat there in the chariot in the middle of the battlefield so that Krishna could talk to him. We sometimes tell someone that we do not want to do something, but still we listen to the other person's point of view. Why? Because we have a doubt about what we do want or do not want. Otherwise, we would not be able for available for discussion. That Arjuna sat there indicates that something was telling him that there was a fallacy in his thinking and that he stood by to be corrected. And he was ready for it. The first chapter of the Gita ends with these words. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishastu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishnarjuna Samvade Arjuna Vishag Vishada Yogo Namaha Pratamodhyayah 4.5.
Beautiful. I mean, this psychological profile of Arjuna is very nicely brought out by Puju Swamiji. And I think we all find ourselves in a situation similar to Arjuna's, even in our day-to-day lives. I think today also I was saying something very irrational to Unnati. I knew it was very irrational, but I still wanted to voice it anyway. And then after saying it, I'm like, yeah, what I said doesn't really make sense. But you sometimes need somebody to tell you what you think may not necessarily be the clarity that we have in our own thinking. And so I love the fact that Arjuna, in spite of being in such a difficult situation that he is in, finds the presence of mind to reach out to somebody who he knows understands life better than he does, understands the teaching better than he does, understands reality better than he does. And so here it's almost, though Arjuna did not ask questions, he's making statements. You can think of a question mark at the end of every statement. That everything that he's saying is up for Krishna Bhagwan to analyze. Because Krishna Bhagwan is not here only to listen to him that, yeah, buddy, you're right, let's all go for a cup of tea and get out of this battlefield. No. He knows that what Krishna Bhagwan may say now is not necessarily something he will like to hear. That no, Arjuna, you have to fight. He doesn't want to hear that, but he still has enough respect, enough presence of mind, enough shraddha in Bhagwan Krishna, not Mr. Krishna, that there is something very wise that he's about to be counseled on, and that's upcoming. So I mean, this is great. We took what, like a year and a half to I don't even know how long it's been, but chapter 1 is officially complete. Chapter 2 is where the Samvada will begin. Krishna Bhagavan, if you notice, so far hasn't really opened his mouth. And chapter 2 is where all the wisdom starts pouring, starting from Shloka 11. So the first 10 shlokas of chapter 2 will also be a little bit of the continuation of the Vishada theme, right? That, yeah, I'm not quite ready, sort of. But then Krishna Bhagavan comes full force. And the first shloka itself is an atom bomb of a shloka, the 11th shloka, that is. So we'll see that. I'll close off with the Shanti mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Once again, I'll just close the recording.